Study the oddity of the duck penis. But we just set a record. We just sent $1.4 billion to 1.1 million people in America when we owe $25 trillion who are deceased. And we know.
The federal government just admitted to a billion-dollar blunder that defies all logic. While taxpayers struggle, the bureaucracy is funding the impossible. You won't believe where your money is actually going. Watch carefully.
Madam President.
Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to associate myself with the eloquent remarks of Senator Carper. I don't need to remind the President that we have $25 trillion worth of taxpayer debt. Not our debt, taxpayer debt. And it's more than $25 trillion. If we add in the mandatory spending, the Medicare, the Medicaid, Social Security, it's over $100 trillion. The entire net worth of the American people, most prosperous country in all of human history, is just barely over $100 trillion. And as Senator Carper said, my constituents all the time say, why don't you do something about it? They say, why don't you just set priorities? Now, we've had a lot of wasteful spending, all of us in the United States Congress, going back years. I don't need to remind you of some of the wasteful spending, but this is why people are so cynical. In the past, this Congress, not this particular Congress, has spent $370,000 to study whether mothers love dogs as much as their kids. In the past, the United States Congress has spent $700,000 to restore a Buddhist temple in Vietnam. In the past, not this Congress, but a past Congress has spent $400,000 that they gave to a major university. I kid you not, Madam President, to study the oddity of the duck penis. But we just set a record. We just sent $1.4 billion to 1.1 million people in America when we owe $25 trillion who are deceased, and we know they are deceased. And Senator Carper's bill that he's been working on for 7 years, and my bill that I've been working with him on for the last 3.5 years, will stop this. It's not a heavy lift. You know the problem? And I'm not criticizing the Treasury Department. They did a great job of sending out about $270 billion to 161 million people through the CARES Act. And I thank them for that. But the problem is they sent $1.4 billion to 1.1 million dead people. Why did that happen? Here's why. We have what is called the Death Master File. If you die in America, your state or others in your state send to the Social Security Administration the fact that you're dead. And the Social Security Administration makes a list. It's called the Death Master File. It's not a perfect list, but it's fairly accurate. It can be.
This is the smoking gun of bureaucratic incompetence. Senator Kennedy is exposing a system that isn't just broken, it's intentionally siloed. We are told the government needs more of your data for safety, yet the Social Security Administration claims they lack the authority to tell the Treasury who is dead. It is a convenient excuse that allowed $1.4 billion to vanish into the bank accounts of ghosts. This isn't a glitch, it's a feature of a government that has lost its sense of priority. Is this accidental waste, or is the system designed to stay inefficient to justify more spending? Let us know in the comments if you think this is pure incompetence or something more calculated.
Better. But the problem is the Social Security Administration has taken the position for years that they can only share the death master file with a few other agencies. They say we don't have the authority to share it with other agencies, only a couple of agencies. And guess which one agency they couldn't share the death file with? The Department of the Treasury. And that's why we wasted $1.4 billion. And it's a very simple fix, as Senator Carper's worked on for 7 years. Here's what our bill will do. It's really quite simple. First of all, it tells the Social Security Administration to share the death records with everybody in the federal government who writes checks, so we don't send dead people money. Duh. It will allow federal agencies access to each other's databases. Imagine that, they would talk to each other. It would direct agencies to use this information to curb improper payments, and it would direct the Social Security Administration to do a better job. Now, how simple is that? How simple is that? We are spending right now $800 million a year. That's on top of the $1.4 billion that we just wasted. Took and threw it in the dirt. Threw it in the dirt. Like clockwork, every year we send $800 million to dead people. And it's been all in the papers, and it's a very easy fix. And that's what Senator Carper and I's bill does.
The performance we just witnessed isn't just another colorful speech from the senator of Louisiana. It is a clinical autopsy of a failing state apparatus. When Kennedy lists the absurdity of federal grants, from Buddhist temples to the biological oddities of waterfowl, he isn't just looking for a laugh. He is framing a deeper, more disturbing reality. The American taxpayer is no longer the priority of the American government. The revelation that over $1 billion was sent to deceased individuals isn't just a clerical error. It's a symptom of a systemic rot where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, has been codified into law. But here is what nobody is asking. How many other Death Master files are being hidden behind the veil of privacy or lack of authority while trillions of dollars circulate through a digital void? We are currently sitting on a debt mountain that exceeds the net worth of the entire nation, yet the mechanism to stop sending checks to the grave took 7 years to even reach this level of discussion. Think about what this means if you are sitting on the other side of this, a small business owner fighting for a few $1,000s in relief while the government effectively rains cash onto cemeteries. Why now? Why has it taken nearly a decade of Senator Carper and Senator Kennedy shouting into the wind to address a fix that Kennedy himself describes as simple? The mainstream narrative will tell you this is just government being government, a shrug of the shoulders at the inevitable waste of a massive bureaucracy. But that's a lie. This is about the intentional fragmentation of data. By keeping these agencies from talking to each other, the system ensures that accountability is impossible to pin down. If no one is responsible for the list, no one is responsible for the loss. Critics will argue that data sharing between agencies leads to a Big Brother scenario, a valid concern in any free society. However, when that lack of communication results in a $1.4 billion heist from the future of our children, the privacy argument starts to look like a shield for gross negligence. If this is the analysis you are not finding anywhere else, you already know what to do. We have to look at the historical parallel of the Great Recession or the post-war spending booms. In those eras, waste was documented, but never has it been so blatantly nonsensical. Kennedy is using humor as a scalpel to cut through the thick skin of Washington's indifference. He knows that if he can make the waste look ridiculous enough, the public might finally wake up to the math that doesn't add up. The $800 million sent to dead people every single year like clockwork is a permanent drain, a leak in the ship of state that no one bothered to plug because it wasn't their money on the line. This story is not finished because the bill is only the beginning. Passing a law that says talk to each other is one thing. Forcing a multi-trillion-dollar bureaucracy to actually change its culture of waste is another battle entirely. The question remains, if they can't even stop paying the dead, how can we trust them to manage the lives of the living? This isn't just about a bill, it's about the fundamental restoration of common sense in a city that has long since abandoned it. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay informed on the stories the mainstream media ignores, make sure to subscribe, share this video to expose the waste, and leave a comment with your thoughts below.